Hello everybody and welcome back for what I hope is going to be a very fun working equitation competition vlog. Tomorrow Scandal is headed off to the Grange for the Inter A and Bella is also going to be going for the Inter B. Both horses went to a show a couple of weeks ago where Scandal stepped up to Inter A and Bella did her first official association show. It wasn't our finest outing. To cut a long story short, I think Scandal got his tongue over his bit in the dressage, so he was obviously not very happy about that. And then Bella, and did a really nice ease of handling, but I messed up the course and we got eliminated. And then Bella got a little bit confused in some parts, including the counter-canter and a particular rein-back obstacle, and unfortunately she just got a bit upset with my aiding and a little bit reactive, so I probably put a bit too much pressure on her. So for Scandal, I would really like, obviously, his changes to be as good as possible. That's always kind of my number one priority with him, but I would also really like for him to just sort of be happy and confident, and for it to all feel very easy and well within, just another day on the job for him. Bella, I just want her to have a really harmonious, happy, confident time. She's very new to the sport, so there will be a lot of mistakes. So really, I just want her to come away feeling like she had a nice time and had fun, and hopefully wasn't confused at any particular point. Morning everyone! That is all I'm having to deal with. Not too shabby, Scandal, proud of you. It is such a beautiful morning, but oh my gosh, it's already hot. Hi, Jim. I'm afraid all of you are having a day off. You're all having a day off. You're all going to need to enjoy yourselves in your field. Okay. Bye, boys. Look, Bella's off for breakfast. Wait for me, Bella. She is so bad. Okay, so Bella's dressage, and for anyone who's been keeping up to date with my training diaries, you will know that I've kind of been doing a lot of ongoing work to change Bella's way of going and get her a bit more uphill and a bit more loose and sort of supple through her body. But it is very much a work in progress, and as you can see, particularly in certain movements like downwards transitions, that slightly comes out. However, I really loved how this test started, and that trot I just thought was so lovely, such a swinging tail. Sure, I was a little bit strong probably in the leg for that extended there, but it was a really nice start to the test and I thought she was moving really nicely. Similarly, this was a lovely flowing leg yield. Again, I think there's a slight twist in the pole, to be honest, which reflects her not being entirely supple through her ribs and laterally there. But actually it was a nice open shoulder and nice sweeping movement. But her lack of suppleness is particularly noticeable in this serpentine. And you can see the change in bend, she stays on the inside shoulder there. It just lacks that fluidity through her ribs and that ability of hers just to shift her weight to the outside. There she's on the inside shoulder again and really move through her body and her ribs laterally. Similarly, this was quite a nice sweeping leg yield. It improved as we went along. Little bit dropped in the pole, just where she starts to go a bit more on the forehand, but nothing too major. And I really liked this whole trot work. I thought it was lovely. Her halts, as I was saying, downwards transitions are something we need to work on. Slight loss of confidence in the rein back there, which is why I think she kind of went crooked right at the end and lost concentration. The halts are something we're going to have to work on. It's just about bringing her back and then keeping that slight forward momentum going. Similarly, the walk is just something that I've not really had a chance yet to address because she needs to build a bit more confidence in her ability to collect in that walk before I can really tackle it in a test and produce a nice collected walk that's uphill. However, this slightly more open trot was nice. She's got a nice length of stride. Could do with a little bit more stretch through the neck, but I always find the medium walks particularly tricky in terms of finding the right amount of stretch. That canter transition, again, was lacking a little bit of impulsion. I think if I'd thought of a bit more of a piaffe feel before the transition, it would be much better and it would have set her better up for the canter. Because as you can see, this is a little bit flat and you can really see she's on the inside shoulder in that more open canter, and her bend's not really true, and through the up of the inside shoulder and through the ribs. As a result as well, I then didn't quite get her back enough after the more open canter. Again, it reflects how difficult she finds it to sit, and we got that change out to the counter canter, and then a little confusion about picking up the correct lead here. But she tried really hard to listen into what I was asking, and we got there in the end, and then we got our simple change. Was not too bad, a bit drifted off the track, but that's okay. Bella's counter transitions are something that became quite a stressor for her during a patch of injury for her. So it is an issue that I'm very conscious of, and it's just about trying to be clear and build her confidence in which lead I'm asking her to pick up on. Because she is a very sensitive person. Similarly there, I think she lacked a bit of confidence in the counter canter. I think she anticipated it was going to be difficult and broke. But I'm not unhappy about that because when she picked up, the quality of canter was a lot better after that break. And here I forgot my test. However, back onto the track. Loss of the quarters there, and obviously not clean down to a walk. It should be a nice, clean, simple change. The pick-up transition I thought was lovely. She does a lot better, I think, in tests where she's stopping and starting a lot. And then this trot again, quality just really nice. I mean, that to me is a very happy, a horse that's very happy, sometimes a tiny bit confused, sure. But, really lovely. And again, halt, not great, but very good girl. Okay, this is not going to be the most comfortable test for me to watch, but I'm going to do it anyway. Scandal was really quite distracted and tense. Actually better than his last outing, which is saying something. But you can see he's always sort of got half an eye on what's going on elsewhere and an ear flicked off, not quite fully with me. And what that kind of means is that he's tense through his back, and as a result, he's not really able to work properly, to move properly, to sit and to really articulate his hind end. A good sign of this not quite being right is if you look at the way his tail is held, it's sort of almost slightly artificially held high, And that just shows, especially there, you can really see it. And that to me just shows that actually he's not really swinging and working through his back properly. And it's just unfortunate, you know, again, we got no real great extension or anything, because if he's not working through his back, he's not going to work properly through anywhere. However, I actually thought that I thought this was ridden, I rode this quite well. This leg-heeled zigzag. We had a nice change of bend, we were quick moving off the track, and we got really nicely back to the centre line. And he is trying so hard. He just can't quite keep his attention on me. And for example, this walk, we fortunately didn't have any brakes. It's just a bit, you can see how tight it is, and it's a little bit rushed and hurried. But he managed to hold it together and didn't actually break. And then we actually managed to come back a little bit and have a bit more collection, because once you come off the track there, it's collected walk, but we had a slight loss of rhythm. Not a bad halt, and the rein back also was not bad, but, you know, unfortunately ruined by that kind of major loss of attention there. I'd also just like to say he is not that broken at the third vertebrae in his neck. That is just my plaiting, because I wasn't able to actually sort his plaits out before they kind of started coming out. So it's not actually broken there. It was a very obedient canter transition there. Again, lacking in a bit of energy and oomph and sit. And again, you can see that, I mean, really working equitation, when you're doing more length and strides in the canter, you need to be gunning for it. That just wasn't going to happen today. If you see his hocks, I'm being quite critical, but his quarters are trailing quite a lot. Again, you can just see he's not really sat. But he is trying, like the fact that he is actually being very obedient as best as he can, just shows you the kind of, he is honestly trying his best. And also these circles are very odd. So the first one's 20 meters, the second one is 16 meters, and the third one is 12 meters. So, I mean, I find them an absolute nightmare. And then here you can just see he starts lengthening into the change, and it was late behind, unfortunately. But I think it's just a case of when he's soft and when he's supple, it's easy. So I know that's really a tension issue. On these circles, just pay attention to where his balance is. It is to the inside, so we're on the inside shoulder, and a little bit quarters in as well. Now again, when there's less tension, he's much more fluid and supple through the body, and I do have a slight issue with him being on the inside shoulders, but you know, that largely resolves itself. Now he is actually, bless him, settling as the test goes on. You know, the rhythm quality is improving and he's getting a bit calmer. But he snorted there and came a little bit off the track, even though the change was actually quite nice and clean. Just a slight loss of balance in the run up to it, and that counter was nice, but now he's just getting strung out. This is meant to be a quarters in half circle, about 5 meters. Needs a little bit more collection beforehand. I think that's a bit of a theme. It just all needs to be a little bit more seated and collected, and then it will make his life much easier. But again, you can't really do a lot of that unless you have calm. And that was a much better change, actually. So the test does improve as we go through. It's just without that relaxation there's not a huge amount I can do. And some, you know, I could in theory increase the pressure on him, but that's not something I choose to do. Loss of balance there coming out of that, again, just needs to be more collected. This is where I forgot my test. Meant to be okay. And then, yeah, just down the centre line to our halt. So yeah, I mean, it's not one for the history books, but, you know, it did improve. Again, not a great halt, but yeah. So that is dressage done, but I managed to forget both tests. So yeah, something to work on, have a think about. I actually thought both horses were in many ways very good. Bella, and they were both much happier than last time out. Obviously Bella needs to loosen up a little bit, get a bit more supple, and Scandal, he was a lot better, but again I would just love a bit more attention from him, and a bit more relaxation over his back, and just, yes, but not bad at all. Rein back corridor, strike off right, counter canter, cut, stick sack. You can see how much I'm toasting, but it is time for ease of handling. And as I said, just looking for happy, confident horses. Scandal changes. It's a bit spicy. Scandal, I'd like the changes to be good. Oh god. And yeah, Bella generally just harmony. Now, just a quick reminder that ease of handling is all about everything being very harmonious, easy, and looking kind of like you're out having a picnic on this course. So first of all, the slalom at Bella's level, just at the trot, because she's not ready to do flying changes. I'd like her to be a little bit more supple and fluid through the bend there, but I like the quality of the trot. And then here I ask for a canter and use a little too much leg, so we get a bit more quarters in than actual strike off, but we get there in the end. This line at the ball was really lovely. We got the ring, and then unfortunately just lost a bit of, I should have just been a bit quicker to pick up on the loss of energy, and we had a break into trot, which brings marks down quite significantly because the whole line should be done in a very easy canter. However, I really like these two barrels because I thought she showed, so downwards transition here, obviously it could be cleaner, it could be more seated. But the fact was that she showed quite a lot of confidence and sort of understood the transition and what I was going to ask her for. And I think in general the canter work is quite nice here. I think ease of handling suits Bella quite well because it has a lot of transitions, a lot of changes that keep her engaged mentally but also able to regroup physically. And I was so pleased with this bridge because Bella, up until this outing, hadn't gone confidently over a bridge before, and there she just walked straight over. Bit of confusion in the strike off. I meant to do walk to canter cleanly. Again, it just reflects that when I say that previously her transitions have been a real confidence issue for her, I really mean it. So that just reflects where we've got more work to do. Again, transition downwards could be cleaner. Now the pen, for, again, Bella's level, you either need to do it all in canter, including flying changes and canter pirouettes, or you need to do it all in walk. Where Bella's at, hands down, walk is the best option. Her walk pirouette, I haven't done very much on the walk pirouettes with her. So, you can see there was a loss of rhythm behind, and it wasn't really a very clear walk pirouette, but that's okay. Again, something that I just need to work on. But she was very happy, very confident, and it was a solid walk. There was no question of breaking or anything like that. Quarters in the transition. And I really loved her expression doing the sideways pole because she's thinking so hard and listening so hard. So we're in a slightly more leg yieldy position. Either way, I would like to see more bend, but for a higher mark, you want to be heading towards half pass positioning, which is fine. It's just not where Bella's ready yet. She needs to feel more confident and supple in her body. Jump was very nice, but I would hope so. And then, could be a clearer transition. Again, that halt needs to be squarer and snappier. Rung the bell, and then the rein back. I really like the quality of this rein back, but unfortunately we just stepped on the base of the wing and knocked over the corridor, which takes away some marks. But I actually really like the quality of the rein back, and I thought she handled the, hitting the wing very nicely. She didn't worry or panic. And it was a nice strike off into a nice canter. Again, transition down could be clearer, and here she's trying to do right. She's trying to hold square and get herself sorted. So, I probably need to be a bit more patient going forward and give her time to get herself settled before moving the cup. And then there was a little resistance, but the strike off was nice afterwards. And that was not a bad transition in the scheme of things for where Bella's at. Now the gate, I need her quarters to be a bit more parallel to the gate coming into it. This was unfortunately a really low gate for me, so I found it really hard to keep hold of the gate. And for working equitation, it needs to be really easy, so really a rider's supposed to keep hold of the gate at all times. But a couple of times I just let the gate go to reorganise reins, because where Bella's at the moment, I would rather give her a good feeling in the reins and the ride than worry about nitpicking smaller details. That can come later, because actually she was extremely sweet and obedient to that gate. Nice transition up to the canter, and you can just see like how happy and confident and harmonious she is through this test. She doesn't exactly know that much about what she's supposed to do, but she's, okay, sure, that transition down ran a little bit, but she's very polite, she's trying so hard, and she's really attentive and responsive, and that transition up was great. I am so thrilled with Bella. She was so much happier and more harmonious, and she was such a good girl. There were obviously a few little mistakes, but no, thrilled. Also, Scandal's plans have completely fallen apart, but it's all gone a bit chaotic, so I'm just trying to pretend they still look good. Okay, so our warm-up did not go very well. He was tense the whole way through the warm-up, and you'll be able to sort of see as we go through. So that was a clean change followed by a clean change. Then this one unfortunately was late behind, and then this one was clean, but it really wants to be positioned between the two slalom poles. And because Scandal's tight through the back and his neck and generally not soft and relaxed, these mistakes, especially in the changes, really start to come through. But he's managing really well, bearing in mind how unconfident he's feeling, because that ball line was actually really quite nice and fairly harmonious, and he was quite focused. Unfortunately here he's going out through the shoulder, and there was a loss of attention, and then as a result we get late in front for that change. And you can just see again we're drifting out. I've not really got him very well aligned and he's not seated, but that was a clean change, the second one. But again, if the quality of that canter can just be softer over his back and more seated and active, this one was late behind. Those changes become really easy, and I know that he does amazing clean changes. He just needs the right canter. Did really well over that bridge. Not a bad transition coming after it, but you can see the rhythm here is not really a true canter rhythm at times. It's sort of more, I hesitate to say 4-beat, but it's certainly not a really clear strong canter with the hind end engaged. And he does very well with his pen. It was the first time I got him to actually do it in canter well. He needs to be more seated for this pirouette, and then we'll be able to get it more on the spot. So it was more of a canter half circle with the quarters in, but that's okay. That's just where we're at the moment. As you know from our training diaries, our pirouettes aren't developed yet, and there was a loss of balance coming out of it and rhythm. Here again, you can see how hard he's trying, because he does everything, but he's trying to rush through it and just get the job done, and that's all just a reflection of his tension. And it's lovely quality because he's trying so hard to do the right thing, but he just has to take a breath in and slow down and be more rhythmic and again, dodgy stride, sack the jockey. But yeah, I didn't have much ability to lengthen him into that either. And here's where you can start to really see the tension coming through. He came in nicely, and then in order to do a rein back, I have to ring the bell first. But he wasn't quite positioned and started shuffling and trying to rein back before I rang the bell. And that's, again, him just trying to be 10 steps ahead of me, saying, I know what I do here. I go in, we halt, I rein back. and actually I just need him to halt and pause and take a breath before he reins back. And when he's tense like this, he just finds being steady in that halt. And again, here you see the shuffling. And then unfortunately, I start to confuse him a bit with the aids, because if he's shuffling and I'm saying, whoa, oh, but I need you to step forward a bit and move so I can move that, in that case, the cup from one pole to the other. You know, then the aids get a bit conflicting between stop but move. So that's something to work on. And he does really well in that counter there. It was a nice strike off. Positions himself well, but again, distracted by some flowers on it, on the gate here. So yeah, I think just the lack of confidence in his surroundings and the lack of relaxation really made it quite tricky to get the sort of, you know, and here he, again, just confusing him with my aids, where he's not feeling happy and confident, and so I'm giving him some conflicting messages. Albeit I do think I was trying my best, and at this point I was sort of more in survival and just trying to get through the test, trying not to make things worse, but as you can see, I don't entirely succeed with that objective. And then, you know, this is a very tense canter, and we come off the turn and there's just confusion about what I'm asking for. Yeah, I don't think I was too strong in the rein there. I think he was a bit reactive. And again, you can just see all of this is just confusion, tension, not the picture that I want for ease of handling, and not the picture that's rewarded well. Correct. And you know, that's quite right. It shouldn't be rewarded well. Fortunately, he was just too tense to like really get any sort of proper work out of him. It's something I really need to now address and look into. I think it's travelling him with another horse, especially mare. I mean, what are we expecting? But I've just got to look, and there's got to be a way to make it easier for him and less stressful. Other than obviously travelling him and not taking Bella and travelling him alone, which is an option. But I got to look into what we can do that's not that option. Because it's not fun for him to be this stressed. Also, just to add, it's not fun for me to be this stressed either. Okay, stressed is the wrong word, but you know, it's not fun for me to ride a horse that's stressed. I've actually made the decision to withdraw Scandal from the speed. I just think that he's been really wound up. I know I'm not going to be showing you guys any of the footage because I don't actually want it to get normalised for horses to be stressed and stuff. But he's been very wound up on the box, and I think just actually we need to go home and recalibrate instead of running him in a speed class. And also, you know, I was thinking about going in and doing a slower round, like an ease of handling, and I just think, again, I'm just going to be going in there and reinforcing the idea that a competition show arena venue, you know, is something to be tense in, and that's not really the messaging I want to give him. So go home, have a think about Scandal, come out another day. Bella was wonderful in the speed. Unfortunately, my dad filmed himself instead of her during the speed. So I've not got a video, but she was very good. It was a lovely clear. Oh God. The other two are looking very naughty by the hedge. Hope you've not bullied Dazzle horribly. Dazzle's like, thank God she's home. So that is the horses all tucked up in bed for the night. I would say 50% of the objective for today was achieved. Bella actually ended up winning overall in her class, which was fantastic. She did a really nice dressage and ease of handling. Obviously, the basic work needs to improve, but she was so much happier, which is fantastic. Obviously, Scandal was not what I was hoping for today. But I think that's just a case of we're going to have to go away now and have a think about how we move forward. I certainly think the next outing will take him by himself, just to make sure that he doesn't associate outing with stress. But, we're also going to have to look into how we address the bigger issue in general of him traveling with, being with, and sort of being around other horses at shows, especially mares. So that's just something else to think about. It's not the end of the world, even though maybe not the dream outing for him. So anyway, that is today wrapped up. Nothing else to do really, except to say see you in my next training video, which is coming out next week on Wednesday. And have a lovely week until then.